Okay, now I want to talk about waits and timeouts. This is an interesting topic. If you were here in the last session, I think this will be a good follow-up to that. So let's look at two workflows. It's a good exercise, by the way. Do the same exact thing, same business logic, same business rule, but do it in two different ways. So we're going to compare a couple of different approaches to this. So the workflow that we're going to look at here is a workflow that enforces past due opportunities. It doesn't let opportunities go past their estimated close date. Now this is kind of a draconian one because it just closes them out. So they're both going to have similar properties. They both have scope of organization. They run automatically when an opportunity record is created. We're going to look at one that uses wait until execution time logic. And I'll show you how to build this in a second. But basically what this says is the execution time is the system time. And this is going to force a wait until the system time is greater than 1 day after the opportunity estimated close date. And notice that second check for opportunity status equals open. That's kind of a clue about this approach. This is actually a pretty good approach here. Then what it will do is it will change the status. And again, I'm not proposing this as a good business rule because you probably want to send a notification or something. But in this case, just to keep it simple, that's what it does. And then it's going to update description on the opportunity. And this is interesting in itself, by the way. By the time you get to this update, the opportunity is already closed. And closed opportunities are read-only, right? But that is only through the UI. So workflows can update closed records like opportunities or inactive accounts or contacts or a resolved case. Interestingly, workflows cannot update a completed activity record. Those are treated a little differently. Closed activity records need to be reopened by a workflow, which they can be, not through the UI, but through a workflow they can be, and then modified and then reclosed again. But this logic here works, so you can update a closed opportunity record. So that's the wait until execution time piece. Here is the timeout logic. Notice there's a subtle distinction. This just times out until 1 day after the opportunity estimated close date. Then we still have to check the status, and I'll talk about that in a minute, what the difference is between these two workflows. So let's contrast execution time with the timeout. So execution time, I mentioned, that's a process variable you can always use that returns the system time. You can use it as a workflow condition, and importantly, it can be combined with other conditions. So you can see that here. Here's what the condition looks like, and I'll create this in a second. Timeout is a little different. That's a process variable. It's a special process variable. It forces a wait, and it can be used as a condition, but it cannot be combined with other conditions. And that's why I had to have a conditional block in the workflow that checked to see if the opportunity was still open or not. So in general, the wait until execution time approach is more flexible because you can combine it with multiple conditions. So let's take a look at this, show you how you can get a one-to-one comparison. Okay, so what we want to look at is these two workflows here. Enforce past due opportunity wait and the enforce past due opportunity timeout. So let's go to this wait. They're both in draft status right now, so I'll have to activate these to get them to work. They do the same thing. In this case, the functionality is identical. There's no difference between these. And so these are automatic. They run when a record is created. Scope of organization means that what? It's going to run for everybody in the organization. Excellent. That was a little pop quiz. I've got this exposed as an on-demand process. Not that this thing typically would be, but in a testing kind of a period, sometimes especially if I'm working with sample data, I might expose this as an on-demand process so I can start it up on an existing opportunity. So I'll keep that fired up. Let's collapse the properties for a minute. Okay, so this says wait until process X. Here's this whole thing here. Let's open this up and see what the condition looks like so you can see. So here is process execution time. So you'd select that by using this local values. That's where you drill through the variables that are either have been maybe created by the workflow or this process variable. And if I then go to the next column, you can see there are 4 things here. There's execution time. There's also timeout. Then there's these two kind of somewhat inscrutable things. And we'll talk about these in either one of the next 2 sessions. It's hard to come up with real compelling use cases for these, but there are a few, and I'll go through what those are. But this one says execution time is greater than, and then we use dynamic values to do something like this. And if you haven't seen dynamic values before, it's good to know how they work. So the execution time is greater than, then I've got this date field here, because that's built into the designer. It knows that execution time needs to be compared to a date. I don't want to hardwire this, at least not for this scenario. I want to come over to dynamic values and select opportunity, and then select the estimated close date field. But before we do that, let's do 1 day after, and then click on estimated close date. And as soon as I do that, it pops it in there. So that's the scenario here. Then what I did was I went to the next line and I said, okay, well, let's combine that with a status equals open, because I only want this logic to be applied to an opportunity if it's still open. There's no sense in closing out an opportunity that's already closed. That wouldn't work too well. So then we changed the record status, canceled. And if you haven't seen this before, the way I think of this is a change status. So this add step, I had to choose the change status step here. And it's kind of odd because what you do is you change the status, not by changing it directly, you select the status reason. Because there's a one-to-many effectively from status to status reason. So if I want to close this out, maybe you could add a custom status reason for opportunities if this was an important thing, canceled because past due or something. But I just choose canceled here. Then I'm going to update the description of the opportunity. See what this says? Append with opportunity closed out as canceled due to unfortunate lack of attention from owner. Put a little pejorative note in there. Notice this is an append. So this will take whatever's currently on the description, it'll keep it, and then it'll put this at the end. And in order to do that, you just choose append with. And then for something like this, what you need is you need to put this text down in the default value, and as soon as you choose append with, type the text here and click OK, boom, it pops it in like that. So that's how you would use that in this case. So let's see how this runs. Let's activate this, and I'll show you a good way to test these if you haven't seen that before. Okay, so this is activated. So using our wait. So now let's go to opportunities. And this is why you might want to make something like this available for on-demand use, because then I could apply it to one of these. Let's open up this thing here. So here's an opportunity. And what we can do is scroll down and see if this workflow is running. So here's the in-place monitoring I mentioned. So I'm on an opportunity record. If I click workflows on the left-hand side, I can see that in this case there are no system jobs that are running against this or have ever run against this record. So what I can do is go back to just the general section of the opportunity form, and I get the ribbon here, and I'll click run workflow, and since I exposed that workflow with an on-demand use checkbox, I can go ahead and apply it to this thing. And what should happen here, notice the estimated close date is December 29th. So that condition should not be satisfied. And if I vamp long enough and wait just the right amount of time, then I click on workflows. Oh, I did it too soon, but if I refresh it, there we go. So that was a second too soon there. Okay, so now the workflow shows up. Status reason is waiting. And if I open this thing up, okay, sure enough, it's sitting there. You get the little spinner there. Kind of tells you it's a good visualization of what's happening. And this is going to be especially nice if you've got kind of nested workflows. You can see where the thing is sitting. So it's just waiting because that's what it should be doing. But watch what happens if we change the estimated close date. So let's suppose I make the estimated close date to 11/25 and then save this thing. And if I do this fast enough, go down to the workflows. I wasn't fast enough because notice it says it's exceeded now. So as soon as that date changed, the workflow picks up the fact that that condition is satisfied, and this record then it should have got closed and the description should have been updated, right? Let's see if that happens. So if I go back here, kind of doesn't look like it because notice it says open and there's nothing in the description, but watch what happens when I refresh. It actually did run, it's just that the form hadn't refreshed. So now it says opportunity closed out is canceled due to unfortunate lack of attention from owner, regards management, with a nice personal signature. And then you can tell it's lost and all closed out. Okay, now let's take a quick look at the other one. I won't go through the drill of activating this one, but let's look at the enforce past due opportunity timeout version of this thing. So here's what this one looks like. Same properties. It's going to run when the record is created. Also as an on-demand, just for testing purposes. And the timeout version looks like this. So timeout until 1 day. This, looks reasonably good. But notice this difference between process timeout and wait until execution time. This process timeout, if I go to the second line here, notice there's nothing else here. I can't select opportunity. And if it looks like I can select this, but notice you can't select anything here. So the process timeout you're prohibited from using anything else. This is really kind of a single purpose scenario. So that's why, because even though process timeout equals 1 day past opportunity close date, this part functions the same. But in this case, that's why I have to put this nested conditional logic in here to check the status of the thing, because once we hit that, I can't, since I wasn't able to combine it with another clause on the condition, I have to do that here. And sometimes you can imagine a scenario where you might have 2 or 3 things. You might have many things that need to be satisfied for a timeout. You can imagine, let me show you how it might look here. If we go back to the wait one, I'll deactivate this. If I go into this process execution time condition, suppose I say I only want this thing to really kick in for opportunities that are open, of course, but where the opportunity, maybe opportunity type or something like that, or any number of scenarios here. Maybe the estimated revenue is this is only for less than or equal to, you don't want a $100,000 opportunity to get, so this is going to be, we have some threshold there. But you get the point. You can combine multiple conditions here, so there's some additional flexibility you get from that. So there are a few. It's actually hard to come up. I was trying to come up with scenarios that you could use the timeout and could not use the wait until execution time for. It's not that easy to come up with those. If anybody has a good one, let me know, and I'll see if I can come up with something. But off the top of my head, I couldn't come up with a good one for when you would not be able to use the execution time approach. Okay, so I would say use the wait until execution time if possible. Probably the best practice there.